Shine upon you, and may he lift up your countenance and give you peace. Amen.
Prayer for our permanent spiritual home, revised a bit. Spirit, we give thanks for the perfect divine right outcome for the Fruitland Park UCC property to be the permanent spiritual home for unity of the village's spiritual community. And so it is. Amen. Here's another goodie. It's all about our soul and the decisions that we make that come from our soul.
Have you ever wondered why some men crawl while some men fly? It's a decision of the soul. Life is always what you make it. You can live or you can fake it. It's a decision of the soul. Anytime you're rearranging, it's the soul that does the changing. You can use your inspiration. Don't look at your limitations. It's a decision of the soul. Hit it, Hector. When your life is rearranging, it's the soul that does the changing. Yeah. Turn the pages, seek the wisdom of the ages. It's a decision of the soul. It's a decision of the soul. It's the decision of the soul.
Slow on the pickup here this morning.
Would you like this?
Oh, I think I've got one right here. Thank you. All right. So first I want to thank all the people that helped in this ministry this week. The camps came in and thinned out all the stuff that was in the community room kitchen. You know, people bring stuff and they're not using it in their kitchen anymore. And we get like boxes and boxes and boxes every year. So we used it, we appreciated it, and we passed it on. And let's see, I want to give thanks to Carol Walton. She's the one that's been sending out those lovely birthday cards from the church, so we appreciate that. And you may have noticed a difference either last week or this week when you sat in your chair. The chaplains blessed every chair in this sanctuary as a gift to you. Yes. And I want to thank Pat and Joni for keeping up with all our finances. And let's see, a couple little jokes. Now, a couple people have had their grandchildren here, and they're glad that they had them here. You can fill in the rest. So this is from an 8-year-old. Atheists are people who don't believe in God. I don't think there are any in Chula Vista where I live. At least there aren't any who come to our church. And then when my grandson Billy and I entered our vacation cabin, we kept the lights off until we were inside to avoid attracting pesky insects. Still, a few fireflies followed us in. Noticing them before I did, Billy whispered, "It's no use, Grandpa. Now the mosquitoes are coming after us with flashlights." And this last one kind of fits in with the news this week. Children's logic. "Give me a sentence about a public servant," said the teacher. The small boy wrote, "The fireman came down the ladder pregnant." The teacher took the lad aside to correct him. "Don't you know what pregnant means?" she asked. "Sure," replied the young boy confidently. "It means carrying a child." All right. So today I'm going to go back to one of the teachings in Holy Week. This story is in all the Gospels, the Synoptic Gospels, as well as the Gospel of John. And it's about Jesus showing anger. And here it is. "So now the Jewish Passover was near, so Jesus went up to Jerusalem. There he found seated inside the temple dealers in cattle, sheep, and pigeons, also money changers. Making a scourge of cords, he drove them out, all of them, sheep and cattle together, out of the temple, scattered the coins of the brokers, and upset their tables, and told the pigeon dealers, 'Away with these. My Father's house is not to be turned into a shop.'" All right. That's from John chapter 2, 13 to 26, because I know some of you are going to run home and read that today. All right. So we refer to Jesus as our elder brother, a way shower, and we follow the teachings of Jesus in unity and new thought. And he shows us some anger here. So Webster defines anger as a feeling of extreme displeasure, hostility, indignation, or exasperation towards someone or something. Wrath, rage, ire. The root word comes from the Middle English, from Old Norse, angh, A-N-G-H-A-N-G-R. So it means tight, painfully constricted, painful, compressed, hard. Now many people have a hard time believing that Jesus could be angry. So it's hard to read this story picturing Jesus say with a smile, "Could you move your sheep and cattle out of the temple?" It just wouldn't work. So there's anger in action is what he's displaying here. Here's a guy in his mid-30s. We know he's fit because he walks everywhere. And we can picture in our mind and feel the energy of that anger. So our elder brother has demonstrated that it's okay to have the human emotion of anger. And as we look at the story, he expressed it physically. So it's okay sometimes to express anger physically, but never to the point where it injures anyone. And the Dalai Lama calls this principle positive anger. He said anger is an outrage towards injustice done to others. It can often be an important catalyst for powerful altruistic deeds. An example may be the anger expressed by the large conglomerates coming in, trying to purchase the local water rights and then sell it back to us in plastic bottles. Some people are outraged and angry about that. It's a good thing. So why don't people express anger? Well, I went back to some of the great teachers in Unity, the Judices, Frank and Martha Judices, very well known. And Frank writes that people, when they deal with their stuff, they'll go so far and then they'll get stuck at a certain point, and that's their anger. He says that people are free to talk about their emotions like fear and guilt, and when it comes to anger, we all shut it off because we're afraid of our own anger. We're afraid we're going to blow up and lose it. And of course, because we keep the lid on it, terrible things can happen. Murder is one of the worst things that can happen. So, when someone's sharing and they're saying that they're full of fear or guilt, generally we can comfort them, support them. But if they have a load of anger and they're ready to express it, usually people will shy away and get away as quickly as possible because they can't deal with the energy of anger. So anger, really, in our society is socially unacceptable. And all of you can picture in your minds children, especially tweens and teens, when they get their ire, their anger up about something, and you ask them about it. And all of a sudden their faces get red and they get, really explaining everything, and spittle's coming out of both sides of their cheeks. And they have not yet learned that it's not okay to express anger. And so we remember the teachings of Jesus also. It says if you want to live in a heavenly state of consciousness, you must be like a child. So as adults, we learn along the way we're not supposed to express our anger. And especially, this has been taught, I'm not sure about this generation of women, but definitely some generations of women have been taught past programming that they shouldn't feel their anger, especially if you're a polite, good, well-mannered woman. You would certainly not be angry. Okay. So, what about the second slide, which is what about verbally expressing our anger? Well, again, Jesus gives us demonstration. See here. 23:13, here we are. So he's talking to the scribes and the Pharisees, and he pretty much gives them a tongue lashing. He says, "Woe to you, you impious scribes and Pharisees! You shut the realm of heaven in men's faces. You neither enter yourself, nor will you let those enter who are at the point of entering. Woe to you, you impious scribes and Pharisees! You traverse sea and land to make a single proselyte. If they tell you, here he is in the desert, do not go out. Here he is in the chamber, do not believe." And he goes on and on and on. He says, "Woe to you, blind guides that you are! You say, swear by the sanctuary, and it means nothing. But swear by the gold of the sanctuary, and the oath is binding. Woe to you, you impious scribes and Pharisees! You tithe mint and dill and cumin, and omit the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness." And he goes on and on and on. He says, "Woe to you, you irreligious scribes and Pharisees! You clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but inside they are filled with your self-indulgence." Okay, so what's he telling us there? He's saying it's okay to express your anger verbally. So go back to Judas' teachings. He says that a lot of people feel like it's okay to feel their anger and not express it. And he says, when you stuff your anger, here's what happens. You feel like you're a bad person. So as truth students, we can stuff it by saying we're radiant centers of love. And then we can add anger, and then we think, oh, well, if I'm a truth student and I'm a radiating center of love, I'm not supposed to feel anger. And then we add a layer of self-condemnation on that. So we need to peel off that layer of self-condemnation and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm angry, and just because I'm angry, I'm an okay person. It's okay to have the human emotion of anger. So he expressed it. He tells us it's okay to feel anger, and sometimes it's okay to verbalize it. It's okay to say to somebody, I'm angry. And then the third instance is in Mark 3:5, and this is where he's attempting to heal the person with the withered hand, and somebody says, hey, you can't do it, it's the Sabbath. And he says, I'm angry about that. And instead of expressing it in a different way, he puts it into his healing, and he heals the withered hand. So that's what everybody wants to do. We want to redirect it. Sometimes when we're angry, we can go work in the yard or walk around the block or run around the block. Maybe walk around the block for this group, I'm not sure. And so remember, the root word of angry means tight. It means not giving people the space to be who they are at that moment. It means they're not fitting into the mindset of who we think they should be. Now, some people, as we all know, because we've all had a lot of worldly experiences, are quicker to fire than others, aren't they? Now, sometimes this is because the family systems that they grew up in, that's what they learned from their family. Sometimes they have neglected to take care of themselves nutritionally. So sometimes after people get sober, we know it takes a whole 2 years of high B vitamins before the neural fibers are actually healed again, so they don't just fire off into a rage. Some are quick to fire because they have deep-seated anger issues. So whenever they get a little annoyed at something, like somebody cutting them off in the Aldi parking lot or in the checkout line, that could be, 10 or 12, they get instantly angry. And then there's some people who are just rageaholics. They really like the adrenaline rush when they get mad. I mean, they really enjoy it. We know that. We've seen people like that. And sometimes there's a superiority in people who pretend they never get angry. Everything's just fine. Oh, everything's perfect. But we know better. We know that energy can never be created or destroyed. So if it's not expressed and it's depressed, sometimes people feel depressed because they're depressing that energy. They get depressed when they're angry and they're not standing in their truth or standing up for themselves. Or they pretend everything is okay and then they show up socially imbalanced or not balanced. And it's because they have this ball of anger in them, and it's like they're trying to push it down underwater. Ever try to put a beach ball underwater, how to hold it? It takes constant effort, doesn't it? Yeah. And so what do we do here? We turn to the next page. And so another habit that happens when people don't express their anger is they tend to dish the dirt. Okay, so dish the dirt means they just add a little in conversations so that that person is just, they put a little doubt in people's mind about their integrity, that they're just not quite really who you think they are. Of course, we've seen that dishing the dirt in the mudslinging, haven't we, a little bit, in our entertainment for our political candidates. Okay. So the reason I bring this up is because we're going through two challenging places in our spiritual community. We're in that transitional, icky stage of ministry growth, and we're also going to be moving. Now, I can guarantee you that everybody's abandonment issues are going to come up. Did anybody ever have to move when they really didn't want to move? Okay, come on now. Let me ask the question again. Yeah. Did anybody ever have to move when they really didn't want to move? Yeah, okay, that's exactly right. Okay. So, and one thing for sure, we can all guarantee you, our new board can guarantee you, our building committee can guarantee you, I can guarantee you, our spiritual leader, Norm, can guarantee you, there's going to be at least half a dozen things that you all are going to get upset about. And they'll all be all different ones. So we'll have upset after upset after upset. And because we're going to be making decisions that are good for the whole, and 2 or 3 of those decisions are not going to be like, you're not in that part of the whole. And so you just can't understand why that board or why that minister is doing it this way. So we have the ability to grow spiritually through this process. And we have a bunch of people signed up for the work, so we know that we have a group that's going to be conscious and awake and aware of how, anyway, their own vibration affects the whole. And so this message is just a message of it's okay to express your anger. It's okay to show it, to verbalize it, to overturn the tables, although hopefully not here in the community room. But when we express it, we let it out. And then it's gone, isn't it? Usually when we express it, it's gone. We're on to the next thing. We have to be like children. That's what they do. They express their anger, and we say, okay, yeah, well, you can do this, this, and this about it, but it's not going to change the way thing happens. And then they kind of just move on. So in closing, there's a story in Dalai Lama's book called Healing Anger. It says, a hermit was living alone in the mountains. One day, a herdsman happens to pass by in the cave. Intrigued, the herdsman shouted at the hermit, "Hey, what are you doing?" The hermit replies, "I'm meditating." "What are you meditating on?" asked the herdsman. "Patience," says the hermit. There was a bit of a silence. After a while, the herdsman decides to leave. Just as he turns, he looks back at the hermit and shouts, "By the way, you go to hell." "What do you mean? You go to hell," came flying back. The herdsman laughed and reminded the hermit that he was supposed to be practicing patience. No mistake. All right, I also changed one word here. Who can tell me what it is? Yeah, okay, you guys are awake and aware. So, divine love as me. So as we, this is the time for our offertory, so as we take our gifts, our tithes, our blessings in our hands, we affirm, divine love as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful.
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you awake to all the wonder that you are. I long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved. You're here to remind me of my magnificence, to help me awake to all the joy I'm worthy of. You long to show me all the joy I'm worthy of. You're here to remind me how much I'm truly loved. We're here to remind us of our magnificence, to help us awake to all the wonder that we are. Sorry. Long to show me all the joy I'm worthy of. You're here to remind me how much I'm truly loved.
All right, and if you'll join consciousness with me up here, as we bless these gifts, these offering, these tithes, we bless first the giver of the gifts, then understand the principle of prosperity. It's all about outflow. As we outflow, so comes the inflow. We can never outgive God. And so we give thanks for all of these gifts. And we see them multiplied many times over. And we see them going out to create a world that is kinder, gentler, and more peace-filled. A world where we recognize we are only one. For this we give thanks in the name and through the nature of the Jesus Christ teachings. Amen. All right, and now we have our new board installation. So we have, I'd like Norm to come up, and I'd like our lead chaplain, Kay Gordon, to come up. And so we're going to have our board members come up. Pat Bennett is our new board president. Joan Peak is our vice president. God bless Renee, she's going to be secretary again. Our treasurer is John Booth. Ed Taylor is back. We had to wait till now till everybody got back from their vacations. Dee is up here, and we have Mary Lou, who is our alternate. Yes. So are you prepared, this new board of 2016, to discharge the duties and responsibilities of a board member as Unity of the Villages? Are you willing to follow the principles as set forth by Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Unity Institute, to always look to the Christ within for wisdom, guidance, and inspiration? Okay. Only two more. Actually, one more. Do you consecrate yourselves to promoting the welfare and growth of our church and the entire Unity movement, to follow Unity principles and to look to the Christ for wisdom, guidance, and inspiration? You do. All right. And let us all bless them, shall we? So we'll do that. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Everybody know that? All right. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Thank you. Bless you. Okay. And now we can get in our two big community circles for our final peace song and prayer for protection. If you're new, you want to be able to see the screen for the words. There we go.